You used to care, now you feel nothing. Every day feels heavy, but your mind won't sit still. You're drowning in stimulation, yet starving for motivation, and you can't remember when the slide began. To the point where your brain gets so overloaded with noise, with novelty and stimulation, to a point where your microdopamines that are coming in almost deplete you of your drive, where the things that you found once meaningful and the desires and the drive you had towards things that you wanted to do and the person you wanted to be becomes meaningless. It becomes empty, and you almost begin to question everything. Your brain wasn't built for the endless flood of quick, intense inputs we consume today. Every notification, clip, and scroll gives you that tiny burst of dopamine, so frequent that your dopamine baseline drops. When your baseline drops, real life feels dull, your work feels dull, and even effort feels dull. You start needing constant stimulation to just feel normal. While anything that requires sustained focus feels impossible, it's not that you've lost your ambition, your nervous system is too overloaded to access it. I can recall plenty of times where I've come to sit at a desk to do the work which I could see being meaningful to me, yet I would struggle to even start it, or perhaps 15, 20 minutes in, I already wanted to tap out and to go on to something else that was more interesting. And this came as a shock to me because when I realized that the thing that was once meaningful to me wasn't meaningful to me anymore, it felt like something was wrong, that something was broken, or perhaps that I had simply moved on from that interest. And learning more about dopamine and learning more about how the brain works, I realized that I had to do a few things. And the first thing meaning was I had to replace some of the high dopamine stimuli stuff that I was doing. So one of the actual steps that I would give you if you're in a similar position is try and replace a highly stimulating form of activity that you do at the moment. And by this, I mean something which is more cheaper dopamine. So for me, it was replacing video games, where at the time of recording, I'm currently on a dopamine detox where I'm just cutting video games out entirely. And by doing this, it's just giving me a way to just have a healthier baseline. Now, as a result, I've started consuming a little bit more content, which isn't obviously ideal, but I know that it's far less stimulating than, playing loads of video games as well. And the second thing I'd really encourage you to do is try and find time in the day where you can just have boredom, where you can just, maybe like an hour in the day total, where you can just not be doing anything. You're not listening to anything. Perhaps you go for a walk and you're not listening to anything. You're just focusing on what you're doing and just having those moments of blank space in your life. That's really helped me, I know, especially for just creativity and just thinking of ideas, because I found that if I was always in my phone, if my head was already in my phone and always on social media and such, I could never really give myself to be able to actually compute all of the stuff that I was, feeding myself every day in terms of information, but also that way of being able to actually decompress without having to consume more. And I want to leave you with this. Just know that your drive isn't broken. There's not something inherently wrong with you. And it's more so that if you can actually detach away from the higher stimulating activities that you do, and you can give your brain more space to breathe and just acknowledge the information that's coming in, you're going to find it a lot easier to actually get a healthier dopamine baseline and start finding more work related things a lot more interesting for you.